get started. So thank you again for sharing some of your thoughts about time management. I'm going to now share my screen. Make sure this works. Share. Good. All right, so what you should see in front of you right now is a time management workshop. And it's in a Prezi. If you can't see it, let me know. Quick little introduction about what we're doing today. So again, I'm going to talk for maybe 15 minutes about time management and just some basic skill set and knowledge-based things that you can know and apply. So we'll talk about kind of planning and time management strategies and also study skills and strategies. Oh, and by the way, where I got all this information from is a lot of it I just got through a lot of research I did previously about time management in graduate school, and then also kind of asking grad students like, what is your experience like, and that's kind of where all this advice came from. So it's a hodgepodge of different sources and different tips. So the importance of a plan. So what that's telling us right here is when you plan something out ahead of time, it's going to benefit you in the long run because you're going to have something to stick to. You're going to have an idea of what to look for. So I use meal planning as an example, and I'm a big fan of meal planning. I should have brought my meal planning whiteboard in here to show you. Where you can plan your meals, you go to the grocery store with a list of things that you're going to buy, and you end up knowing exactly kind of what you have planned out for the week, including maybe a night or two that's to be determined, and maybe that's the night that you go out to eat or something. But it basically saves you time along the way. You're not sitting there running to the grocery store multiple times. You know what to expect. So I always use that as a simple example of making a plan. Always thinking about realistic time frames too. There's short-term plans, there's long-term plans. What am I going to get through today? What am I going to get through this week? What are my goals for the quarter? And so thinking about realistic time frames when you make your plans. Documenting your plan is one of the key things that you can do just to make sure that you stick to it, they understand it. So you can do old school and you can do pen and piece of paper. I'm sure some of you like to kind of just write things out by hand. And I will say at work, I have a list, a to-do list in a notebook that I really like writing out by hand because I like scratching things off when I'm done with them. But also when I'm doing like planning an event or planning something that's pretty major, I'll actually usually type it out. I'll give you an example. I was planning my son's 6th birthday party. He's going to be 6 in March. And so I have all that typed out in a document so I can refer to it of like what my to-do items are, what the guest list is, all those things. You could set priorities, color code as well. And just be sure to set aside time each day for actual schoolwork. And they say that if you do even incremental stuff, like 20 minutes to check discussion boards, an hour to read, 45 minutes to respond to emails, whatever that might be, if you set kind of incremental steps and timeframes in your plan, that's also very helpful. Being realistic and flexible, things will change. You might have a plan to go to the library and study, and then it snows. Which I know some of you are in snowy places, and then it snows, or it's really rainy and you don't want to go outside, which is probably most of Seattle today. You may have to alter your plans. And again, I mentioned paper planner or electronic planning. I also like to put things in my calendar as like to-do items. So for example, I'm teaching or I'm leading a session with my student services team in a few weeks on resilience. So how do we work with you guys, graduate students, and our undergrads too, about resilience? How do we empower you that way? And so I have it in my calendar already, my work calendar, an hour of research, an hour of plotting out my presentation to just prepare for that day. And I have it already in my calendar, so I know that I won't have to do it very last minute. Time management strategy. So you have a plan, but how do you actually make this whole time management thing work? So you audit your time if you really want a true example of how you are doing with your time. So what you could do is just, you could do a weekday, you could do the whole week, and you just kind of, and you don't have to be nitpicky because that in itself is a project to audit your time, but kind of go, okay, how much time did I spend studying today? How much time did I spend in class? How much time did I spend commuting? Because I will tell you, it took me an hour and a half today from leaving home to going to the office for my commute. But kind of figuring out, okay, where are my time gaps? And sometimes I was actually talking to one of my colleagues, Ash, who many of you know, just today, and we were talking about, how was your night? Did you get enough sleep? And she's like, well, I got into bed early, but I played on my phone and watched TV for 2 hours. So no, I didn't get enough sleep. And I said, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you need to like shut off the TV and put down the phone, and then you won't be tired. It was just a great conversation of going like, we do this to ourselves all the time, that we have this time during the day. The days don't change. The time still stays the same, but what are we doing with it? And we don't always think about what we're doing with it. Also consider when you are most productive. So if you're, by now I'm thinking if you're like more of a morning or mid-afternoon or evening person, but honor the times when you are most productive to get work done around that time if you can. And I mentioned before the 20-minute increments, so using small chunks of time to try to get stuff done. And I said set time aside to manage your email, because you guys get a lot of email. I know I send you probably half the email that you get. Just kidding. Probably not half. But they send you a lot of email, and you want to be able to at least go through, delete, flag, prioritize. You don't have to answer it all right away, but set time aside to at least make sure your inbox didn't explode on you. Weekends I find are often the hardest because, and for you guys it might be different, right? But for me, because I'm on a computer all day, kind of Monday through Friday, on the weekends I try to limit my time on the computer so I can spend time with my family, and then come Sunday night, my email's just blown up. I will say for email management, I use my smartphone. I actually do get my work email on my smartphone, and I get my personal email on my smartphone. So when I am on the bus for an hour and a half, I could sit there and delete, flag, and I use that commuting time to actually get some email management done Monday through Friday. On the weekends, it's a little bit harder because I'm trying not to do too much, but that's one of my tactics that I use. And then I always say we can be full of excuses. We can always have 1,000,001 reasons why we didn't do something. But if you start to tell yourself, okay, not an excuse, I'm going to get done. I'm my worst enemy at giving excuses. I'm just not going to let that happen. I think that's important to think about for yourselves too. I, for a long time in my life, was a perfectionist. I definitely wanted to have everything done perfectly, had perfect penmanship, and always, and I was a good student. I always wanted to get work in on time and do my best. I do believe that's still a thing, that if you're going to do something, might as well do it well. But also, I've learned to let that go over many years, and a lot of that's due to probably having kids and a husband and my faith. And I just realized that perfection is just not a thing. It doesn't exist. So don't try to be perfect with all these time management techniques and stuff. Just try to honor what you're able to do, and always, push yourself to do a little bit better, but don't think that there's this level of perfection that another student has achieved that you need to achieve, or another human being has done that you need to achieve. Learn to say no, learn to be flexible, and also, reward yourself for work well done. I should have bolded that part, but rewarding yourself, I would say with chocolate or alcohol is always good, or with playing on your phone or watching a movie or reading a book. That also is an important thing in life too, which is also my plug. I'm going to do a stress management workshop in a couple weeks here, so we could talk about more of those kind of rewards and releases and stuff. So in terms of studying, and we'll get into more studying stuff too, but research shows that 60 minutes of study during the day is equivalent to 90 minutes study during the night. So some of you might be night owls, and I admit, like I am a big night owl too, but you tend to be more efficient and productive during those daytime hours than you are at night. Sometimes that's not controllable, especially for those of you that work, have families, have a lot of hobbies, whatever it might be, that you have to wait till night. But just know that if there's ever a chance to adjust your schedule, that might benefit you. I went to the online learning conference in Florida a year ago, and I had a blast. And John Medina, who's a UW professor, wrote the book Brain Rules. And he really, and it's so funny because he's actually not like a super fit guy as he's presenting, but he says you should exercise. And when you exercise, you learn better. And so if you go and you work out or go for a rigorous walk or whatever, you shouldn't go back, shower, eat, and then study. You should actually exercise, and then as soon as you come back in from exercising, you study. And then after that, and maybe you eat while you study or something. Then after that, you kind of shower later on and do all that stuff. But apparently your brain retains more information. I think that's absolutely fascinating. And I'm one of those people who's like, well, exercise is good for you and retaining information is good for you, so why not try it? I also throw this up here. It's found in, a copy of it's found in the Catalyst site, module number 3, How to Thrive and Survive. So the MLI student research site, again, module number 3, but it's a time management time matrix. So you can really think of things as what's urgent and important versus important but not really urgent versus not important, urgent, or not important, not urgent. And so the two things, important, urgent, those are going to be your deadlines. Like, when is your homework due? Do you need to be posting by Sunday night in a discussion board to get credit? But then also, on the low end, the not urgent, is that friend that you call on the phone who will take an hour and a half to tell you about how she's doing and then go, oh, how are you doing? And then you take, 10 minutes. But it's kind of looking at like, okay, is this going to help me accomplish what I need to get done today? So I do want to talk about study skills and strategies as well. So a big thing with this is, and again, you guys, I'm your academic advisor, but also I really pride myself on the fact that I did school pretty well. I did my undergrad and grad work. I worked really hard. I wasn't a perfect student. I worked really hard. And a big credit to that was just being organized. So an example is if you do have a binder, to maybe have a daily planner at the front of your binder, always have your syllabus handy, keep it towards the front of the binder, have different sections. You can also, you don't necessarily have to have a physical presence of your syllabus and all that stuff. So you have to organize your files on your desktop or on your computer as well, or in your Google Drive. Keep those organized. And sometimes I organize things by, so if you have a file online and or on your desktop and you title it by, title, and then it maybe alphabetizes it for you. Sometimes I'll go 1.syllabus, 2.handouts, 3.paper number 1, 4.paper number 2. So that way it's even organized in some kind of order within my folder on my computer. So think about little techniques like that so things just don't get lost. Also, I'm a big fan of not putting like every single document on your desktop, to have folders on your desktop. You'll probably get a sneak peek at mine again when I change over from this Prezi presentation. Also, I'm a big fan of highlighter, color tabs. Research shows that, again, it catches your eye. It helps you kind of highlight things, circling something. You can highlight things in a PDF. You can highlight things online as well. So this is what you've probably already figured out, but devoting time to studying, again, this is one theory. It's not all correct. It's not all wrong. It's just one of those theories. For every credit hour of class, you should spend 2 hours a week studying for that class. So if you have a 3-credit class, you should spend 2 hours per credit. So you're at 6 hours per week studying for that class. It's going to change, right? Because you're going to, maybe you're doing like a Infotech course, your Infotech core course or something, and if that's a harder material for you, or you're doing cataloging, that's harder material for you, you may be studying 3 hours to every credit. And when you have a paper due or group project, that may ramp it up because, especially with group projects, just because you get off task, sometimes you talk with each other, you catch up with each other before you even start doing the work. But keep in mind, if you know that, okay, if I'm in a 3-credit class, I need to do 6 hours a week of studying. Okay, then maybe I'll study for that class on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and kind of set a schedule for yourself as well. Here's some study tips. So the first one's pretty basic, and I told you this, that your orientation is just attend class. Go in person, go virtually, whatever the mode you're taking. Some of you may be in the hybrid digital humanities class this spring. Log in. It's synchronous. Log in. Whatever you need to do to be present in Canvas or in class, make sure that's a priority, because you're going to miss things if you're not present. Again, either virtually or in person. It also motivates you to stay on top of things. With managing your time, it is important to know the hardest part is just getting started. So you might as well start today. You might as well make a plan for yourself tonight, but not delaying that. There is a lot of group work in the program, and you can also ask your peers, how are you doing this? How are you managing your part? How much time is it taking you to do your part in this project? This is how much time it's taking me. Maybe we need to recalibrate and balance a little bit. It says alternate study spaces. And I think I read two theories of thoughts on this. One is if you go to the same place all the time to study and it's effective for you, then my goodness, keep doing that. So for some of you, it's your kitchen table. For some of you, it's a Starbucks with like ambient noise around you, or loud noise around you, whatever it might be. But if you find that the space that you go to study is actually your biggest distraction, find a different study space. So like right now I'm not in my kitchen, and my kitchen table is actually where I'm great with my work. I'm in like the really cold back room of my house at a desk. There's a bed right there because I can't be in the kitchen right now because my kids are in there and I would not be able to concentrate. And so I have to alternate my space tonight just because of the environment around me and what I need to be able to talk with you guys. Also, just taking care of yourself, socializing, sleep, exercise, like I said, making sure that you remember your humanity and what you want to do and what you're interested in. Yeah, there's going to be some things that you give up for a while, right, when you're in graduate school. Maybe you really like to hike. Well, no, I still want you to hike. But let's say maybe you like to go on like long weekends away. Like that was normally your thing. You would go away for 3 or 4 days for a long weekend once a month or whatever that might be and totally disconnect. Well, maybe that's something you're going to need to do once a quarter now because you're going to have to spend a little bit more time being able to be online or be present. So yeah, things do change while you're in graduate school, but they do pick back up. I usually joke with everyone who graduates, like, now you can read for fun again. That's a good thing. And so just take time for yourself too. If you ever feel like, you're not keeping up with stuff, this is getting hard, you might be late on an assignment, you do need to communicate with your instructors and any group project peers that you have. That's really important. Disappearing is actually the worst thing that you could do. It's bad for you. It's bad for your reputation. It's bad for the others that are impacted as well. Instructors really, they'll email me and they'll say, I haven't seen so-and-so in class for a couple sessions. Are they okay? They're never mad when they email me. They never feel like you're being disrespectful. They are actually really worried about your safety and your health. And so just don't disappear. That's my one plea, because I worry about you guys too if you disappear from stuff. So this is one example. I actually put the link in here too, and you'll be able to access this Prezi anytime you want, by the way. I'll make sure the URL goes out with the recording. This URL is actually, I believe, in module number 3 on the Canvas MLIS Advising Resources site. So this is a 5-day study plan. It's actually still near the beginning of the quarter, so this is something you could implement now. So figure out what all do you need to study, what books, what information, the syllabus, whatever it might be, dividing the material into 4 groups or chunks. And so if you're like, okay, I need to do discussion posts, and I need to read, and I need to work on this paper of mine, and I need to touch base with my group, work on this project, kind of break it up into manageable chunks. And then devote time. And right now the example is study each group or chunk for at least 2 hours daily. That might be a lot. You may be doing that every other day. It may be 30 minutes a day. It depends on your load. And then on the 5th day, you do a review to see how you've done so far. What's your progress like? So that's one way you can make a study plan, but also while reserving time on your calendar. The last bit, and again, I do want to see your comments and hear from you guys. It's hard for me to see them when I'm doing this presentation on the Prezi, so I'll go back into Adobe Connect in a minute. So remember that you do have support, so I'm here for you. I love Google Hangout. We could Skype, in-person appointments, quick emails, long emails, whatever you need. So I can do degree planning with you, and with that, we can talk about how your schedule works. It is not unknown, and I'm thinking about this load, plus I have work, plus I have this thing. Do I need to change something here? And I might say, yeah, those are 3 really intense courses. I would maybe drop that one and do a different one. So I'll give you my opinion. You don't have to follow it, but if you can follow it, but I'll just help you kind of talk through things. There's MLIS peer advisors too, some that are on here, and you can email mlisadvising@uw.edu. That's great if you're like, hey, can someone tell me what the load is like in this course if you've taken it? We have great peer advisors, really responsive, variety of them with variety of backgrounds, so they're great to ask questions of. Grad school has some time management mentoring and workshops. The individual development plan is more of a goal-setting one, which I'll actually do a workshop on goal setting in a month or a month and a half or so as part of the Winter Wellness Workshop series. There's also UW Health and Wellness and UW Counseling Center if you need support. One that's not on here but is also of support is the Disabled Resources for Students office as well. So that's that presentation. You're going to see me exit out of here. I mentioned earlier, those are the kids. So this is my desktop, which is actually not that busy besides the pictures, but I do have different folders and even like add edited photos. Like I have things that I kind of to-do items on here too. All right, let me come find you guys here. All right. Tucky and Jack, yep, they're my boys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will just share. I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Close this stuff up. Oh, yeah, I wanted to point this out. I'm going to read you a couple quotes. You can see it in that Winter Wellness Workshops pod as well. I'm going to open up our chat box. So I went and saw this amazing speaker on Tuesday morning, and she just spoke for like 45 minutes to an hour about fatigue or flourishing, and it was amazing. And the big thing she talked about is just as adults, people, for me as a mom, as a wife, as a working woman, like how do we respect our time, and how do we relax, and how do we make sure that we're not falling into this pattern of being fatigued all the time and more flourishing in what we do with our life. So she did a lot of quotes, and they were just really good and eye-opening, and I'll tell you something else that she shared as well. So there's one by Terry Monahan. It says, "You can't manage time. Time never changes. There will always and ever be 168 hours in a week. What you can manage are the activities you choose to do in that time." So I think that's always ironic because this is a time management workshop, and then I just read you a quote that said, "You can't manage time." Haha. But I like that this person said, what we can manage is what we do with that time and what we choose to do with that time. We actually have quite a lot of control over that, even though you feel like at times there's a lot of things that are just battling for your time or people who need your attention. You can make choices of whether or not you'll devote your time to that or that. Also, Annie Dillard says, "How we spend our days is how we spend our lives." Do we want to spend our lives frantic in a flurry and tired? Yes, we will have days like that. But if you find that there are more days like that than there are days of being able to feel accomplished or feel rested, it's time to look at what you're doing and what's going on. Talk with a friend. I'm happy to talk with you as well. And then this last one by Wayne Mueller, "When we don't rest, we lose our way. We miss compass points that would show us where to go. We bypass nourishment, miss quiet that gives wisdom. We miss the joy and love born of effortless delight." And I just thought that was very poetic. The key thing I took away from this is actually a big freeing thing for me, is the speakers spoke about rest and what that looks like. So I'll probably talk a little bit about this at the stress management workshop. But rest looks different for different people. So some people, actually go ahead and type out, what does rest look like for you? And I'll give you some examples. So how do you rest? For some people, exercise is rest. For some people, it is not. For some people, rest may be a hot cup of tea, sitting down with a book. Some, it may be yoga or meditation. Oh, can you hear me still? Jennifer said, "Marie, I think we lost you." Okay. So hopefully, Jennifer, you can hear me again. I think the others can hear me right now. A fun book, Liz says. Like the trashiest book. Tea, quiet time, hike in the woods. For some of you, rest, okay, I'll admit, this is me. Rest to me isn't always about quiet time alone, because if I have quiet time alone, I will probably fall asleep. Rest for me is, because I'm a social person, is I love to go on a walk with a friend and not have any track of time, but just go on a walk. And then I come back from that and I feel like the endorphins, I feel the energy, I feel like I've relaxed, I feel like my body feels good. And some people would see that as work or not restful, but I find that restful. I find rest not necessarily being quiet again. I find rest watching TV. I love watching movies. I find rest reading a book as well. So I'm kind of an active rest person. But the point of rest isn't time out. The point of rest is filling your soul, is replenishing yourself. And I think part of effective time management is being able to do that, to find places of rest, to know what works for you. So when the speaker talked about rest in that way, where it's not like this prescribed thing you have to do to meet someone else's quota of rest, but it's whatever fills you up, whatever fills me up. It was amazing. I was like, oh, I feel like I have permission to be kind of my crazy self and feel rested. And when people say, Marie, you should really take it easy, you should rest, I could say, actually, this is restful for me. I like having people over. I like doing something physical. So I wanted to pass on those pearls of wisdom to you as well. So some of the things I see you saying about what you like to do to rest, doing a creative project, going out with my camera. Ooh, Amber, I'd love to see your work. I like photography as well. That's a restful thing for me. Netflix, you are close buddies. True, I will fully admit that I am super stoked for the Full House series to be on Netflix, premiering in February. Very excited about Full House returning. Yeah, Fuller House, that's right, Fuller House. Oh, an adult coloring book for Christmas. Look at this. Wait for it. This is my adult coloring book. And I asked for Christmas. I was like, I want my own pencils, my own colored pencils that I don't have to share with anyone, not my kids, no one. I do love Downton Abbey. I have not watched Last Sundays yet. Don't say anything, Jennifer. Don't say anything. What I'm going to do right now, so we can just kind of type and hang out for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to turn off my camera and turn off the microphone and just kind of type with you guys. So please feel free to ask questions right now. I might ask you some questions so you can add in. And some of you in here are second-year students. So if you have tips for the first-year students about how to get through this winter quarter, I know we have online and residential students here. Some of you are in Helene's web chat as well right now. But if anyone has tips for each other or things you have found work, please do. But I will still be online. I'll just be typing away.